Alright, sorry about that, guys. My camera, for some reason, quit on me. I don't know why. But, yeah, Raptor King back. Let's continue the stories we were doing.
Who pulled the lawnmower out of the shed, turned the lawnmower on. Well, we were totally confused at that moment. A random stranger just comes into our backyard and completely ignores everything we say to him. Why would he go into our shed, pull out a lawnmower, and turn it on?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it don't.
However, his next move made even less sense and was even more insane. He flipped the lawnmower upside down and just stood there looking at it.
What the hell?
A few seconds later, our confusion soon turned to horror after watching what happened next. He dived headfirst into the spinning blade of the lawnmower, which cut his neck wide open and ended his life. All this happened in the blink of an eye. My mom screamed at the top of her lungs, which frightened the 911 operator. I couldn't believe what I just saw. I was only 11 years old at the time, but it must have been even harder for my younger siblings to watch that happen. A few minutes later, the ambulance and the cops arrived at the backyard. The police came by to ask a few questions, but the video my sister took had the whole incident on video. So the cops knew the story was legit. I couldn't help but feel bad for the other man that was with him. When the incident happened, he screamed too, started crying and begged us to call for help. But it was already too late.
Wow.
I didn't go to school that day because I was in shock. After that, I couldn't sleep at all. I had nightmares for a while.
I think I'd have nightmares too for a while.
Saw that and wondered what happened to that man to make him want to end his life.
Devil.
I also couldn't stop thinking about our lawnmower. It was old and worn out. You needed to pull the cord multiple times, and with some luck, it might turn on. But he pulled that thing once and it started right up. Everything was odd that day.
This happened to me when I was 17 years old.
Okay, we are at 2 minutes.
I
So I'm
live
going to
in
about
Canada,
6 or 7 minutes, guys,
and this
I'm gonna
situation
quit.
took place
Enough
during
for
a
like 1 or 2
snowstorm
more, I
at
think.
around 9 p.m.
We'll do 2 more.
It was extremely dark outside, and I was waiting
gonna call it a
inside a
night.
bus stop shelter after my part-time job to get home. Although I live in a crowded city in Toronto, it was very quiet that night, and there were barely any cars on the road due to hazardous weather conditions. I was waiting all by myself for about 10 minutes until one man who looked like he was in his 50s entered the shelter. He had a disgusting smirk on his face, which made him a bit creepy looking, and that pretty large guy started making small talk with me. He had a creepy low voice, and he kept asking me what I was doing out in this weather and where I was going. I was feeling anxious, but there was only me and that man, so I told him I was going home after work. He smiled and said to me that the buses are going to be delayed because of the weather and won't be coming in for a really long time. I took out my phone to check the bus times. However, due to the deadly cold weather, my phone died completely. Then he came closer to me. He smelled awfully disgusting.
Hey, you
wanna come with me for 5 minutes? He said. I said,
sure, let me show you the end of my pistol, bitch.
What do you mean? He said, let's go hang out for a bit. Don't worry, you won't miss your bus. I will bring you back safely. Come on. I wasn't stupid and was aware of pedophiles. So I stepped back and refused. But he kept insisting that I should go with him.
Right between the legs, girl. Swing that
he
foot.
would do something bad to me. However, luckily, one lady came into the shelter, and the man immediately closed his mouth. After waiting for some time, the bus finally arrived. It was me, the lady, that creepy man, and 2 other people on the bus. He sat all the way at the back of the bus where he could watch me clearly, and I noticed that he kept staring and staring. I was so nervous, and when it was my stop, I got off along with the lady, And as I kept walking, I saw that the man got off with us and was right behind me. I freaked out and thought there was no choice at all, so I grabbed the lady's arm and asked her if she could walk me home because a man was following me. She also noticed that the guy was acting strangely, so she whispered that she would take me home. I walked with the lady, and when I looked back, he stared at me for a while and disappeared. When I arrived home, my parents and I thanked that lady repeatedly, and after that, I never saw him again in my life.
Good. Creep.
Why are you smiling?
Because I'm freaking rich, baby.
Sorry,
I started
guys.
as a poor farmer, and
I
now
hate these stupid commercials. Anyways, secret basements. Okay, this is the last one. Let it be scary.
I work as a nurse in a hospital, although I can't reveal exactly where because of privacy reasons. Recently, a fairly popular celebrity came to be treated here, although I can't reveal who due to the aforementioned privacy reasons. Honestly, I was pretty surprised he was coming here. Not to shit talk my place of employment, but this place has a bit of a record of being really bad in caring for people. Not that I'm a bad nurse or anything, it's just that a lot of the surgeons seem to fuck up their job and not get fired for some reason. This made it all the more confusing to me that this celebrity came here for surgery
Sounds
to
like
remove
our
a late
hospital.
stage brain tumour. Speaking of, my friend Patricia was a huge fan and really wanted to be the one assigned to him post-surgery. She was even thinking of asking him for an autograph, which seemed unprofessional to me. Anyway, he was flying in for treatment tomorrow, but my current job was to assist a surgeon with the surgery of a little boy who swallowed a bunch of his toy marbles. I was surprised they decided to opt for surgery though, because they were previously recommended to wait for him to pass them. It was me, the anesthesiologist, and the surgeon in the room. I was staying nearby to the site of the surgery, and everything seemed to be going well. Then, the surgeon slipped and cut the kid's stomach lining open. It was horrific. The smell of stomach acid almost made me vomit as it began to dissolve his intestines. Despite our best efforts, he was dead within 10 minutes.
Oh my.
What disturbed me was how unfazed the surgeon was. After we failed to save him, the surgeon left to break the news to the parents almost immediately after. I thought I heard the anesthesiologist mumble something under her breath, but I couldn't understand clearly. It was
What
something
the
about food.
fuck?
My shift was over though, and I walked to the subway to grab some dinner, then caught the bus home. I was pretty tired, so I watched some Netflix in bed until I fell
Sorry about
asleep.
that,
That night, I had a dream, or more accurately,
Text
a
me,
nightmare.
girlfriend.
I was in the hospital, and that kid was there in front of me.
Love you, babe.
Only his whole body was hollow and his chest cavity was open and bloody. His eyes were gone too, but still, he stared at me, and the entire time he pointed straight down. I finally woke up, and with relief from being free of that dream and more guilt from the failed surgery, I started my day. I got to work and Patricia was fairly bubbly. She spent almost the whole morning talking my ear off about the celebrity. When he finally came in, she started freaking out and tried to walk up and talk to him. His bodyguards pushed her away though, and she returned to her duties dejectedly. Just before my lunch break, I was called into my supervisor's office. He said he had something very important for me to do, and that it needed to be done ASAP. He told me to go to the transplant center and get 10 hearts, then go to the basement. I was pretty confused and wanted to ask some questions, but he cut me off and yelled, "Either you can do this shit right now, or you can walk out and kiss your job, good boy."
I bet,
I was
bye.
pretty pissed. He would fire me daring to ask a question, but the management would avoid firing their incompetent surgeons even though they should. I left in a huff to go collect the organs, and found them waiting in a case there already, with a note signed by the doctor that gave me
What?
access to a restricted room in the basement simply called Room 60. I didn't have the slightest clue what was in there, and marched onwards to the elevator and went down to the basement. I walked to Room 60 and showed the security guard my note. He looked me over and said, "Oh, this is your first time doing this, huh? I feel sorry for you. Try not to panic if you know what's good for you." He then unlocked the door, and I stepped in. Immediately I was hit with a smell I would describe as rotten eggs, pennies, and a corpse. The ground was slick with something and it was dark in there too, with only one dim overhead light. The room was pretty big, and in the middle I saw some nondescript blob. Then I heard what sounded like a deep breath in, and the blob started leaving. The thing, which I now started to realise was a body, was walking towards me with stumpy, fat legs. I screamed and tried to run away, but I slipped on the ground. As my face got smeared in it, I realised the stuff on the floor was blood, and as I turned onto my back, I was face to face with the thing. It looked like a very pale, morbidly obese man, although it was much
Ew.
taller and much fatter than any human could be. It had large curled horns, as well as no mouth. Instead, where its mouth should be, there was just a row of pitch
Fucking
black,
devil.
pointy needle-like teeth surrounding a hole. It paid me no heed, and reached out to pick up the box of organs.
Didn't
It
know the
opened the
devil was
box
fat,
and
though.
ate all the hearts in handfuls, stuffing 3 at a time in its mouth. I was terrified and ran out the door, slamming it shut behind me. The security guard looked me in the eyes and put a reaffirming hand on my shoulder. Looked like he wanted to say something but couldn't. He told me that he would walk me out of the building and that I could have the rest of the day off. Now I'm at home, still shaking and typing this up. I got a text from Patricia, and apparently the celebrity's surgery was a massive success. I'm wondering what I even do now. Is this the type of thing I can report? Would anyone believe me?
Right, anyways. Alright guys, I'm gonna call that done. I will finish this one up maybe tomorrow on another 2 more part videos. Alright, this is Raptor King signing out. Please subscribe and check the description below. Peace!